Hello there, welcome. In this video, I want to guide you through everything you need to know to run a settlement in Necesse 1.0. We're going to cover what your settlers will need, how to set up collection, production, what you need to get them to adventures and how to do it. I hope that by the end of this video, all of your questions will be answered. So the first thing that I want to talk about, what's the basics? The very basics is to set up a settlement flag when you are starting with the village elder's house enabled. You'll get one in the starting chest. Otherwise, you'll have to craft one, and this will be your starter for your settlement. Once you set it down, you can set up name and everything around the basics of the settlement, and that's that. From that point on out, people will come to your settlement with a question mark on their head, and then you can either trade with them or ask them to stay in your settlement. Most of the time when they come to your place, they are much cheaper to hire than when you visit a city outside where you ask people to join your settlement. So these people might be random, but they're usually easy to hire. What they need is a house that is surrounded by walls and has a door, a lighting source, and a bed. The lighting is optional, the bed is not. And if the person doesn't have a bed when they're joining, you'll have to go here, press C to get into that screen, go into the Settlers tab, and here you can assign them a bed too. You can also block beds from people here. So this is my house. And this way, when you do that, there's an X on it, and then your settlers won't pick them up automatically. If there is a free bed in the settlement, when somebody joins, they'll automatically assign one to themselves and you don't need to do anything. In short terms, if you have free houses available and you just pick up somebody into your settlement, they'll handle the rest automatically. That's pretty nice. One thing that I want to talk about here is that people come with jobs. So here we have, for example, an animal keeper. This guy can handle animal jobs and is, or this woman I should rather say, and is therefore somebody you would like to have because this is an exclusive job. People have various different exclusive jobs. Here I have an alchemist. In general, I like to say avoid picking up people that are just villagers because everything a villager can do, the other folks can do and more. And yeah. People that have a job are just a benefit for your settlement in general. So, now we know a little bit about the settlers and their needs, and as you see here, she is now looking for a bed and unhappy that she doesn't have one, so we're going to temporarily assign the one in my house so she doesn't get too unhappy. More about settler needs in a few minutes. So, now, automating things. Your settlers will automatically collect anything that is ready for harvest without you doing anything besides making sure that their work priorities are enabled on farming. That's all. If you want more, if you want them to chop trees, you need to assign a forestry zone on top of the trees. Then they will do whatever you want there. And now that I have an animal keeper, I can also set up a husbandry zone. Can't set it up, but without an animal keeper, nothing will happen. Just drag and drop them like that, and you can set up the workings of these collection things as you see fit. It's very self-explanatory. The only thing that we haven't covered yet is the fertilizing zone. This is very optional because your crops will grow without fertilizer. This is basically just enabling your farmer, only farmers can do that, to turbocharge your crops. That's all. Okay, so now we know about automatic collection. How about automatic production? So any container and any workbench in the settlement can be enabled to be part of the automatic production cycle, so to speak. So whenever you go onto any of your workbenches, you'll see that greenhouse icon. Once you click that, it's part of the automated things in the settlement and can be now accessed by your people. I have done this here for the forges. You see when you have it enabled, there's a cogwheel here, and now you can add recipes as you see fit and configure them as you want to do them a few times until a certain threshold is reached, or doing them forever. This is very, very RimWorld-esque. If you have played RimWorld to a certain degree, you will see this and wonder why I'm still talking. You can also copy either singular steps or entire work order tables here. It is up to you. The basic process is always the same and can be applied onto any crafting station. If you don't want to roast the slaughtered meat by yourself, just configure your roasting station, set up a recipe that you want to just have everything roasted forever, for example. You can do these as you see fit. With the boxes, I want to talk a little bit more about. These things can be configured to accept only a few certain items. It's pretty useful. We can assign certain priorities. With this, you can do sort of a sorting system. So for example, this is my chest where I just drop the stuff down which I collected during my adventures. This chest I have configured to accept everything at a low priority. All the other containers in my house are configured on a high priority. So whatever I drop in here will ultimately get sorted into my system here, or I have to set up a new chest because I do notice that a couple of leftovers are in here. For example, the rope, the music, the fertilizer, and then you can just go into one of your chests and reconfigure that. I strongly recommend to use the search bar here. Very, very useful stuff. And last but not least, sometimes you want to go for a limited thing. At the feeding troughs, I like to do that. So here you can also put up a maximum amount of what should be in there. Sometimes very useful because you don't want to have probably your entire wheat harvest in there, or you don't want to overbreed, or. There's so many things that you could do that. So with these basic principles, you can now pretty much do everything you want to, because all processes that you want to go for are working with these, because the user interface of all workbenches is the same and of all containers is basically the same. They just follow a little bit different rules here and there. Okay, next point, settler management. So we can configure our settlers much more detailed rather than just telling them where to sleep. Where you see here that they have a mood bar, that means they are interested in having a good quality around them. We can command the people around. So here we can tell them to go somewhere. This is pretty useful if you don't want them to be burned in raids, but nowadays not as important as back in the early access when people were just dying. Nowadays, if somebody goes down, they're downed and just need a revival potion, in case you're wondering. Equipment, very important point. Your entire colony can and should be in arms and in gear. The better the gear, the more HP they got, and weapons just work pretty much the same as they do for you. This means having spare gear is really, really useful and should be totally done. This is where you can drop all your spare resources into and create yourself an army. Try it, it's fun. Diets. Here we can configure what people are allowed to eat. This is seriously just a little bit of fine-tuning, but if you want to, for example, keep the raw ingredients for further cooking, it can be really useful to disable simple food. Your imagination is here the limit, I'd guess. This is the most interesting part, restriction. Managing areas, you can create a new area just like in RimWorld, and then we can configure where that area should be, and then we can tell people to stay in there, or, we can do a lot of different things. This is a very versatile tool, which allows you to bring people in safety, just make sure that the alchemist is just staying at the alchemists, making sure that certain people are not wasting all their time elsewhere. You can really do a lot of things with that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You have one last thing here at the work priorities. Here we can set up how important a work should be. As you see there's a pretty deep level of priority system. And yeah, here we just configure what people are allowed to do or not allowed to do. So here, if you are leaving just everything at default settings, it ain't bad at all, I just gotta say. This is your opportunity to specialize a bigger city where certain people do this and certain people do that, but I consider it more as a fun to have tool, but not as a have to use thing, if you get my drift. Okay, so settler survival as a last point. What do your people need to survive long term? Food, obviously, but honestly, just having a container where food is stored in is pretty much enough. Just add in new farm fields or plundered berry bushes or apple trees or whatever tickles your fancy until this chest is no longer going emptier but filling. Then you have pretty much the food that you got. I still haven't fully found out how much food a settler requires per day. Dear comment section, do your magic if you'd be so kind. I'd be very, very interested. And yeah, that's the food thing. It's very, very, very easy. The higher the quality, though, the higher the happiness. The richer your city, the higher the requirements. So your settlers have a mood bar, just very similar to what RimWorld colonists have. Sorry for the RimWorld comparisons, but this game definitely has taken its inspirations from somewhere. So if you're talking to your people, you can see what's influencing them positively or negatively. And here's the point, decoration matters. Items that are just filling the room do give your people warm fuzzy feelings, and I don't know if there is a value system or if just any decorational item just gives a few points. I just have figured that as soon as a couple of items are standing in a room, light does play a big role, a couple of decorational items, and usually they were super happy from that point on out. Pretty easy. The last point about settler survival is raids. These can be enabled or disabled fully at world creation, and I don't know, can we? Yeah, you can go into the world settings still during the game, and raids can be very, very devastating if you're not prepared. They're basically your reason to gearing up your settlers, or you just lock them up into a building and you do it yourself. But raids will eventually happen. People will just come attacking your settlement, and it's just a big bad fight. Knowing that this will happen is pretty much already half of the preparations. Gearing out your people with leftover gear is a very, very solid way of getting the problem solved. That's that. Okay, so I don't really have more to add into this thing. I hope I covered everything you needed to know. If there's something missing, let me know in the comment section. I did my best to allocate all the necessary information to make a settlement work. There's pretty much only one thing that I now notice. You can move people to other settlements, but that is only if you have several ones, I feel like. Yeah. Like I said, if there's any open questions, please ask away. I didn't leave it out on purpose, I just must have missed it. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, consider donating via Ko-fi or any other given means if my work is worth something to you. It'd mean a lot. Thanks to all the supporters out there, and thanks a lot for watching this video up until the very end. Really appreciate your time and attention, and see you all on the next one.